Our friend Lisa Abeyta is with us today, founder and CEO of APPCityLife. Good to see you, Lisa. Good to have you back.
Yes, great to be back.
And,
Thank you for having us.
You're involved in all this.
Yes.
And we've just met Katie Rice. I love the name of your company, Katie. You're Senior Associate and Head of the New Mexico Office for Epic Ventures.
That's right.
Epic.
Well, working in venture capital and working with tech entrepreneurs is an adventure, so I think it's appropriate.
Good to have both of you.
Yes.
Now, what is the Women in Tech Luncheon, and what can attendees expect to see this year?
Women in Tech Luncheon is one of the events that is part of the week-long celebration of tech in Albuquerque, which is ABQ Tech Fiesta. And there are some amazing events that whole week, culminating on Friday with an entire day of panels and different types of things down at the convention center. But on Monday, as one of the first kickoffs of that whole week, we put together a Women in Tech Luncheon that really will focus on some of the successes that there have been in the community for women in tech, and then to start having a conversation about how we build a network and a support system for women in tech here so that that success builds on more success.
That's a great goal, and you've gathered some talent together. Who's going to be appearing at the luncheon?
I'm really excited because most women-focused events are women. And we worked very hard to create a panel that is both men and women who have been tremendously active and supportive in our community. So we have John Friesinger, who is from TVC, Stacy Sacco, which I don't think anybody doesn't know in Albuquerque. We also have some amazing women, Jessica Eves Matthews, which I think was on not too long ago talking to you all.
She was on our show earlier this week.
Yes,
so.
And then Katie and I will also be on it, as will Lisa Adkins, who is the president of the New Mexico Technology Council right now.
Excellent. Now, Katie, with Epic Ventures, you're into venture capitalism, correct? So what do venture capitalists look for when they're looking at technology startups? What are some of the keys?
Well, we look at a lot, but I would say to drill down to a few key areas that we focus on. First and foremost, we look at the team. And in my case, we invest in early stage ventures. So, anything from a business plan, maybe an idea, maybe a prototype, maybe a few steps ahead of that, maybe a few steps back, but the team is extremely important. We need to truly believe that the risk we're taking will be handled properly and they'll execute. We look for big markets. Given the early stage game, it's again hugely risky, and a lot of the startups will fail. So we need the survivors, the winners, to hit it big. And then we look for competitive technology that is not easily replicated, and of course a sustainable advantage that we believe will the company can sustain over time, given the competition and the market dynamics.
That's really interesting, because if they're presenting to your group, they got to have some passion that's both verbal and physical that you can pick up on, and the personality matters a lot when it comes to pitching a venture capitalist.
Absolutely, and I would say the most important, if I were to pick just one aspect, one key area we look at, and the biggest deal breaker, the biggest reason we walk away from deals, that would be the team. Because I often say, when you evaluate an opportunity, the one thing you know is what is written in the business plan is not actually what will happen. Some variation of that, some evolution, some version of that will happen, and you need that team to roll with the punches and evolve and succeed, even though the market will change.
Now, Lisa, it's 2013. Tell me, is it really much more difficult for women to get started in technology startups than it is for men?
I don't know if it's more difficult for women to get started. Starting a business today is probably easier than it's ever been, but it is most definitely more difficult to get funding, to get the correct network, to get the correct support. And it's also more difficult for women to go from being a solopreneur, of doing something small that's a startup that's just a home-based business, to actually being able to run a corporation, something that brings in sustainable dollars to a community. The statistics are staggering, and even as far as venture capital goes, women get less than 10% of venture capital in any given year, And most of that venture capital goes to the major areas, the metropolitan areas like San Francisco and New York. So for someone who's in New Mexico who's actually looking to get funded by venture capital, you already have a really high bar that's set. And so the beauty of that is that when you do succeed, you really succeed. Because you've already figured out how to get past all the barriers. But the goal is to really change that so that more women not only believe they can, but have the support that it takes to get out to those really big games.
So in essence, this is a new frontier possibly for a successful team of women to get together and to really break new ground.
Yes, but also men and women. My 3 co-founders are men, and it's phenomenal working together, and that you have what the talents are of a woman, and you also have the talents that men bring to the team, and it makes for a much stronger team. It's been really exciting to work together and see what the two different views bring to the table, and because of that, we're a stronger company because of that.
As in all events like this, the networking is usually a big part of it. Have you got a solid attendance right now? And can people come and attend and expect to meet other women who are entrepreneurially minded?
Yes, we've actually built in networking time because the one thing that we want is for women not to live in their own little pockets.
Yes.
But to begin to talk to other women who are doing exciting things and figure out how to support each other.
Tech can be isolating, can't it?
Yes, it can. Yes, and so yes, tickets are still available. We actually will be selling them up through the event. But the sooner that they sign up, the more chances are that we'll be able to plan an event that gives them all of the access to everyone else that they want to have there.
Excellent. Katie, can women, as tech founders, go head-to-head directly with their male competitors in the field?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They certainly face certain challenges, but I would say in my close to 8 years in venture capital, some of the strongest, most compelling pitches I've ever seen were given by women. Of course, there are a number of challenges. One thing, if you read about women versus men in the startup technology world and the world of VC, is a topic that comes up a lot is pattern recognition. And what investors do is, if you've worked in the investment field or venture capital for a long time, you look for patterns, both in what startups have to offer, what their plans are, and also the people. Like I said, the team is the most important aspect. And unfortunately, pattern recognition includes the fact that men have, historically started and ran and succeeded more often with startup technology companies. So you're working against that as a woman. But the other part of it, I think, is that women should remember is that they also become more memorable, right? If you're if you're the only woman that week or that in that 2-week period that you're pitching, you have that advantage that you stand out a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think women tend to actually present extremely well. And they get very passionate about what they've, they're making a lot of sacrifices, as are men. Everyone makes sacrifices to work on a startup, but, they should let that passion show and be very confident, and absolutely they can go head to head.
Have you had any wonderful, innovative ideas cross your desk?
Oh, yes, of course, including Lisa's. Oh, absolutely. I'm looking at a number of pretty exciting companies here in town right now. So I would say the deal flow it has become more sophisticated and richer in recent years. So I'm very excited to be here investing in technology.
I got to meet Lisa, I think, early on in your venture.
Yes.
And it's really great to see your success. I have about a minute for you. Can you just encapsulate how you got started with your app company?
Yes, I actually got started because I wanted to see something affordable and meaningful for local in mobile. At the time, mobile was really new and nobody was doing anything in it, and it was crazy expensive. And so I've actually done a couple of pivots, and if you can't pivot, you're probably not going to make it out to the real market. But what we've landed on is serving the civic community, creating mobile apps that serve the civic space, such as transit, museums, schools. We just signed APS. So now parents all over APS will be able to use an app to keep in touch with their kids' school, be able to check their grades, do all kinds of really cool stuff. And we're taking that and building it and putting coupons inside of it from small businesses, and we're going to roll that out across the US.